Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio. My name is Greg, and the name of my show is Spiritism, Healing, and Meditation. And this is show number 33. Kardec Radio is nourishing our souls 24 hours a day with over 4,000 podcasts on Facebook, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can download them onto your portable device and take them on the go. We also have kardecradio.com, where you can go there and post questions to us for any of our shows. And we are all a volunteer-based radio station, podcast station, and any donations will be welcome. Thank you. So we are doing show number 33, which will be Spiritism and World Religions. And before we start, we'd like to connect with our spiritual mentors of Kardec Radio and to our Creator. So if you can at this time, close your eyes and let us pray. Heavenly Mother, Father God, Master Jesus, and Mother Mary, good spirits of Kardec Radio, we thank you for this opportunity to grow together, to learn together from the knowledge of Spiritism, and to enlighten our souls just a little bit more on this day. May we all be a little bit more enlightened at the end of this program. And we thank you for your blessings and the healings that you send us every moment of every day. Thank you, dear God, and so be it. So we are going to be reading this beautiful piece from the Spiritist magazine, number 14, and it was written by a Spiritist named Naor Fonseca, PhD. So we will listen to what Dr. Fonseca has to say about Spiritism and world religions, and I will comment with my knowledge of particularly the Eastern knowledge that I have from my many years of meditating. So we will start with Naor's part. Legend has it that God has sent truth to the world in the form of a giant mirror. When the enormous looking glass was nearing the surface of the planet, it was broken into many pieces, spread all over the planet. People knew that the divine gift had the shape of a reflective surface, but they did not know that it had been shattered. For this reason, everyone that discovered one of the fragments thought they had found the whole truth, but in reality, they had found only a small portion of it. This is such a beautiful introduction. We would wish for these series of articles to remount the mirror of truth, collecting its scattered pieces in all the cultures of the world. However, we would always be frustrated, for neither we have the resources for such an endeavor, nor we believe that the last piece of the absolute truth has been found. What we will try to achieve is to polish our understanding of our spiritual origin, nature, and destiny from the prism of Spiritism by putting its principles side by side with those of the main religious traditions of our time. We will not go in this journey alone. In addition to the fundamental works of Allan Kardec, we will have two pillars on which to base our arguments. The first is the classic textbook, in which many comparative religion classes, the world religions by Houston Smith Hewson Smith is professor of religion and philosophy in Syracuse University. Throughout his life, he has had many masters on the main religions of the world, dedicating on average 6 to 8 years in each tradition. The second is A Camino de Luz, In the Pathway to the Light, a concise account of humanity's history from the spiritual perspective by Emmanuel Spirit through the automatic writing of Chico Xavier. In this book, Emmanuel reveals the ascendancies of Jesus Christ and other missionaries directing the evolution of our planet. A book, A Camino de Luz, begins with an explanation about the planetary genesis. The author does not bring forth a new theory about the formation of the world. In fact, the chapter reads much like any modern introductory textbook on the subject. A big explosion threw a lump of matter from the sun into space. After millions of years of cataclysmic events, Earth cooled down, an atmosphere was formed, and the necessary conditions for life had been created. Life was created as the first single-cell organisms, and through unceasing evolution, life evolved to the apex of intelligence of the human race. However, unlike the secular view, which is based on a great extent of random events that took place over a long period of time, Emmanuel shows direction and purpose in the evolutionary process of the planet. Emmanuel says that there is a group of pure spirits selected by the supreme intelligence of the universe that orchestrated the whole process. In particular, Jesus Christ, who is also a member of this group, is directly responsible for the evolution of our planet. Thousands of millions of years went by under the watchful direction of Jesus, his celestial engineers, under the direction of Jesus and his celestial engineers until the establishment of the anthropods. Then a visceral transformation was made in the structure of our predecessors. Celestial archetypes operated a change of their perispirit, the spiritual body in the spiritual realm, in order to prepare the form of primates, the ancestors of all human races. But this primitive human body was still too brute, and once more Jesus intervened. Millions of spirits from a system called Capella, 42 light years away from our solar system, needed to undergo further expiation due to their obstinacy in overbearing pride and selfishness in order to catch up with the evolution of their own planet that was in transition to a better stage. And we know that now we are in this position that Capella was that many, many years, eons ago. It was then that Jesus received that herd of suffering spirits to his kingdom of love and justice, promising them that he would never abandon them and that he would come in the future. The exiled spirits from Capella would atone for their past while helping in the fixation of new characters in races of the earth. These races were known as the Adamic race, or Adam, and they formed 4 great peoples, namely the Hindus, the Aryas, the Egyptians, and the Hebrews. The civilization of the banks of the Ganges River was one of the first among the deported peoples of Capella to make settlement on earth From these margins would spread the religious thought of many cultures for the future. The statue of some of these spirits, the Mahatmas or great souls, was to evolve that they left a lasting impression in their people. And even today, many foreigners that visit India cannot help but notice the sacred and elevated psychic environment they experience. Max Muller considered Hinduism the most needed complement to the Western thought, which had been almost entirely derived from the classic Roman and Greek philosophers. Muller translated many of the sacred books of the East, like the Vedas and the Upanishads. And he also studied the link between Hinduism and the early pagan religions of the West. Not too long ago, the world was shocked by the accomplishment of one exponent of this culture through nonviolent movement. Mahatma Gandhi won the independence of his country from the English rule and popularized Hinduism principles in the Western world. Houston Smith summarizes the main message of Hinduism to humanity in this phrase: you can have what you want, but what do you want? At first, individuals seek to satisfy their desires to feel pleasure. Rather than condemn them, Hinduism is full of teachings on how to extract the most pleasure out of life. But pleasure is not the only thing that the most imaginative creatures of the planet want. Soon they get bored. Many experiences that thrilled the first encounter path of the 100th. Success is the second want of the soul in all its aspect: wealth, fame, and power. Although these achievements may last longer than the fleeting pleasures, money is always moving hands. Some younger will always be more famous, and there are always more power to be conquered. Ultimately, however, everyone knows that none of it can be taken with you after the grave. Thus, we arrive at the third great goal of life: duty. This time, the focus is not on satisfying one's own ego, but something greater to serve the community. This is the beginning of religious thought, the religion of duty. It is more important to serve than to be served, to give and to receive. One does not worry about winning, but doing one's best. Nevertheless, like the other two objectives of life, duty is also limited. With the community, will always come to the end. What man and woman really want must lie somewhere else. What man really wants is liberation. Liberation from all the limit the soul has become perfect, the limits of the physical body, of the ego, of ignorance. The four stages of the wants of man and woman is not to be understood as taking place in a single life, but in many reincarnations of the soul, in successive progression. As the spirit passes through many lives, it experiences pleasure and privation, wealth, poverty, health, sickness, and learns through the experience what it really wants, what it really needs to be happy. And I would like to interject here a brief statement. The distinction between the Vedas and Hinduism. Hinduism is a religion, as Dr. Fonseca is explaining here. Religions always have their foundation in something deeper. Now, the relationship between the Vedas, the Veda is knowledge. The Veda is pure knowledge. It is a part of the religion of India, of Hinduism, and all the other sects of India. The Vedas have the fundamental underlying knowledge. And Veda just means knowledge. And it's not knowledge of anything. It's knowledge of what is referred to as Brahman, which means the totality. The Vedas are the total knowledge of the entire creation. And the purpose of the Vedas and the purpose of the teachers that teach the Vedas, the masters, the gurus, they take the disciples and they initiate them into practices that will allow them to literally transcend the physical world in their own experience in meditation, to transcend, to bring those qualities of enlightenment, of kindness, of love, of generosity, all these beautiful things that we know from Spiritism. These are the fundamental principles of the Vedas. And this is the fundamental principle of Hinduism. So where Hinduism, the religion itself may have been flawed, as he's saying here, but the basis of it is only flawed because it was missing its connection to the basis of its life, which is pure knowledge, pure unbounded bliss of God. The question that turns to how one obtains total liberation, Hinduism's answer to this question is fourfold. There are 4 different types of people, and they're each a different path of practice, also yoga. There is a path of knowledge for those who seek the rational explanation for the questions of being, the philosophers. There is also a path of love, which is the most popular for those who need to direct their affection towards an infinite being of love, God, in order to practice the same love of their lives. There is also a path of duty, to which one finds meaning of life by serving others. And finally, the most difficult one is the empirical path for the disciple that needs to experiment with his own life, mind, that which he or she believes in. All of these paths aim to liberate the soul from the influences of selfishness. There's a metaphor that can illuminate further the 4 paths of Hinduism. None of us being equal, each of us at the same starting point. The goal is the same for everyone. To reach the top of the mountain, but the path each one will take is unique. Likewise, in the Gospel according to Spiritism, Lazarus' spirit describes the journey of evolution in these terms. At the starting point, humankind only has instincts. After some advancement, on the onset of corruption, he has sensations, but when he becomes instructed and more purified, he has sentiments. The most delicate apex of sentiment is love. Lazarus then points out that what it means to be dutiful, duty is a moral obligation, firstly to ourselves and then to others. Duties begins exactly at the point where the happiness and tranquility of our neighbors is threatened, and therefore terminates at the limit we would not wish to pass into relationship to ourselves. The man who fulfills his duties loves God more than his fellow beings and loves his fellow beings more than himself. The cumulative point of duty is a superhuman love that liberates the spirit from all miseries. Blessed is the one who has surpassed the state of human beings, loves with an ample love of all suffering fellow beings. Blessed are those whose love for they will know not the miseries of either body or soul. The Spiritist practice also offers the following many ways to grow spiritually. One is to dive deeply into reason or logic of the Spiritist principles, which give unique and unequivocal answers to the metaphysical questions, such as, where do we come from? What are we doing here? And where do we go after life? Love is another way. Christ is the role model of love that we should all aspire while on earth. These 2 paths are well expressed in the sentiment by the Spirit of truth. Spiritists love one another. That is the first precept. Educate yourselves is the second. The maps to these paths are laid out in two of the main books of Allan Kardec's, the Spirit's Book and the Gospel according to Spiritism. The remaining two paths are also central to the Spiritist practice. Duty is best expressed by the flag of Spiritism. Without charity, there is no salvation. Spiritists everywhere are encouraged to volunteer their time freely to the benefit of others inside and outside their center of Spiritist practice. The path is mindful of experimentation, is also open to the devout student through the work of mediumship, which requires a great level of commitment and discipline. Rather than seeing these practices as unconnected paths, they should be integrated in a balanced Spiritist practice. The good Spiritist, as the good man or woman, is virtuous, wise, and compassionate. Such attitude will attract the company of wise and benevolent spirits that will act like mentors to the sincere disciple. There are many similarities between the principles of Hinduism and Spiritism, such as reincarnation, evolution, and others. In fact, one may find the principles of Hinduism in many other religions, including materialism, which was also born there in the Sharvaka school. Even the tales of Jesus of Nazareth have been known by the initiated in Hinduism thousands of years before the settlement of Hebrews in the Palestine. It was an echo of Christ's promise. And, excuse me, I was about to sneeze, but I was saved. It was an echo of Christ's promise to all the exiled peoples. However, even though the conductors of India knew the elevated lessons of Christ as registered in their ancient sacred books, the Hindu people let their overbearing pride sneak into the culture by a psychological activism, which was the reason for their exile from Capella. In the first place, the caste system was extrapolated to forever separate their communities. And I would like to add a little something there about the caste system and some of the principles that are going on in India and Hinduism. The master that I learned from, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he actually was I don't like to use the word rebel, but he, in many ways, was very controversial by some of the traditional religious sects there in India when he started coming out and teaching everyone his transcendental meditation. I mean, normally you would have to give up your entire life. You would give up, leave your family. You would go surrender to the Guru, and you would live in the ashram with him in a secluded place. And after many, many years of devotion, then you would start getting these spiritual practices, meditation, and various practices that would help your evolution grow. I mean, he broke that tradition, and he saw that it was not correct, and he corrected it. So he offered it not only to anyone and everyone in India, but he was guided to come particularly first to the United States, to offer it there to the Western people, the people who are living the opposite of a monk's life. He was a monk, and the the householder, he referred to it as. So that one aspect right there, where he saw the suffering and the misery of people in his simple meditation, he wanted to offer to the world. So in many ways, from this experience, he was one of Christ's teachers, and he respected Jesus very much, would always tell the people that followed him that to follow their own religions and to continue with their own religions. And he said many beautiful things about Jesus. So he is a worker of the light, a worker of the divine, a bringer of that enlightenment from the Master Jesus, by leaving or correcting what was and should have never happened, where there was different castes, and certain castes could never meditate. You were a worker class, or you were even lower than that. You couldn't learn from the Guru. You couldn't get enlightened, but he offered it to all. Let's see where we. Spiritism does not institute any new models. It only makes it easier for humankind to understand and practice Christ's morals by giving an unshakable and enlightened faith to those who, are in doubt or who waver. By making this humble comparative study of Spiritism and Hinduism, we hope that the reader has a little insight of both philosophies and also the careful direction of Jesus in the spiritual process of the planet. Let us learn from the deep spiritual understanding to our fellow Hindu people and double our watch so that we do not fall into the old activisms of pride that tend to create separation and division among ourselves. That's Noah Fonseca, PhD, member of the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society of Massachusetts. And we thank you, Noah, for that beautiful article. And we wish you many blessings, dear friends, and we hope that this was enlightening to you. And we ask you to stay tuned for the second part, the meditation and the healing part. And thank you very much. And we thank the good spirits for being with us and guiding us and making us a little bit more enlightened than we were before we started. So many blessings, dear friends, and stay tuned for the second part. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Purifying the heart and mind before a healing prayer, as described by the Spirit Father Eustachio, who was a healing medium when alive on earth. This through the hands of psychography of Chico Xavier. Repeat after me, silently or out loud. Visualize the person or people who have hurt you. Look into their eyes and say to them, I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. See yourself hugging them. Visualize the people you have hurt. Look into their eyes and say, I am sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Visualize yourself hugging them. Now visualize yourself as a small child. Look directly into your eyes and say, I forgive you. I love you. Thank you, dear soul. God loves you greatly, more than you are capable of knowing. The healing prayer. Repeat after me, silently or out loud. Dear God, please use me as an instrument of healing to cure this infirmity. I have faith in you and know that all things are possible with you. Please free me from all thought of pride and selfishness, which may alter their purity. I humbly beseech you to permit your good spirits to concentrate their beneficial fluids in me so that I may bring about health. Let us visualize a shower of God's healing light being poured over the diseased or damaged area. Sustain this image of light, healing, soothing the damaged or diseased part. This light of God coming through Jesus and the good spirits restores balance and reinvigorates health. See this light not only healing the physical vessel, but the paraspiritual body. See the cells coming alive with new joyous energy, happy to be part of God's plan and carry out this holy work. See this loving light of God pour over our entire spark of God we call the soul. See each cell be enlivened in vigor and health. May this heavenly divine light elevate us to learn from this mistake that caused the disease. May it infuse wisdom and discernment so that future thoughts and actions do not cause harm to myself or any other dear soul. See us healthy, happy, vibrant, glowing in divine light, a heart full of love and acceptance of all. Thank you, Holy God. Thank you, Blessed Jesus. And thank you, good spirits that are sent by God for this healing. Thank you for this healing. Thank you. Thank you.